We see arrows used in logos in all sorts of ways, some obvious, some subtle. Because we read in the Western world from left to right, arrows typically point to the right, following the reading direction. Sometimes they point up, but seldom do they point to the left or down. The easiest way to apply arrows is to apply them as arrowheads to a stroke. We have a number of different arrow styles, and I'm going to reduce the percentage in this case to 40%. I can make it extend beyond the tip of the stroke, and I can also change its direction. To make the arrow imply a smile, I will add an arc lower warp effect to it, in this case at 75%. To then give it more personality, I'll change the variable width profile to width profile 1, move that closer to the type. Staying with that theme, if I copy that, holding Option or Alt as I drag away from it, I'll move the stroke above the type, come to the Appearance panel, remove that particular effect, and replace it with an arc upper at the same percentage. And we now imply the traversing of an obstacle. I'll use the Polygon tool to create a triangle, holding down the Shift key to make sure it's on a flat base. If necessary, press your up or down arrows to add or remove sides. I want this to be filled, not stroked. I want to rotate it through 90 degrees. I'll tap A to go to my direct selection tool and then round its corners just to make it a little more friendly, and now size it relative to the type. I'll draw myself some guides to help me do that, like so. Here I'm using italicized type to give a sense of dynamism, and I want to add the arrow to the letter E. I'm going to position this over the letter. I'll come to my shear tool, and I want to shear this at the same angle as the type. I can adjust its scale, its position. I'll select the type, convert the type to outlines, ungroup the type so that I can select the letters individually, and then select the E and the arrow holding down the Shift key, come to my Pathfinder, combine those two shapes into one, zooming out, select all of that and regroup it. In this instance, I'm going to begin with a right angle triangle, round the corners slightly, come to my anchor point tool and pull on the path segments to stylize the arrow. We can have a repetition of arrows. I'll start out with this one. Option or Alt and click on the bottom anchor point, rotate through 90 degrees, making a copy, repeat that transformation, Command or Control D, select all four, group them together, hold down the Shift key as you rotate to rotate through 45 degrees. Another repetition, I'll duplicate that one triangle. I've made the weight of the stroke on the triangle equivalent to the weight of the stroke of the type. I'll now choose the rectangle tool, my draw behind mode, select the type and draw myself a rectangle tightly behind that type and fill it with white. We see arrows used every day in icons, and we understand these icons instantly. Here I'm going to start with a circle and make this into a refresh icon, signifying rejuvenation and renewal. I'll use my scissors and cut that circle in two places, delete the unwanted segment, select the stroke, and come and apply an arrow to that and significantly reduce its percentage. Or we can combine a triangle with a circle to create a map pin. I will just need to add in a solid circle on top of that to complete it. Or we daily come into contact with arrows in the form of mouse cursors. Here I'll rotate this through 22.5 degrees. That being the angle of a mouse cursor, actually half of 45. To finish that, I would outline the stroke, combine the two elements into one, apply a white stroke around the result. If we look closely, we see we have a slight kink in that line right there. So I'm going to select that anchor point and that anchor point, and then aligning to selection, I will make sure that their left edges are aligned, and I can now put that in position. We also see arrows in the negative space of our artwork. In this case, the KD letter combination when tightly kerned, and I can accentuate that by applying a color to it. When we think of arrows, we think of direction, and when we think of direction, we think of a compass. So maybe we could work with this theme, and I have 3 iterations here going from the overly complicated at the top down to, I think, the more simple down at the bottom. And finally, our arrows don't need to be straight. By making them zigzag, we can have them convey danger, electricity, thunder, or roadside signage. I'm going to select both of these and then apply arrow number 7 at 70%. And then to give it more personality, I'll select the stroke and come and use my width tool to make that stroke wider at certain points.